Because burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's those subtle accumulations of micro stresses, the physical stuff, the emotional, the mental anguish, all of that builds up. And what it starts to do is just deplete our reserves. Hello and welcome back. Now, just before we get started, if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. So whenever I release an episode, you find out very quickly. Also, if you haven't already checked it out, please check out my TEDx talk on the subject of pandiculation. So if you go to YouTube and put in the search bar at the top, TEDx Heidi Hadley, book my TEDx talk, and then please give me a thumbs up, put some comments in the bar below, and then also please, if you could share it with anyone else that you know it will resonate with, I really would appreciate that. Okay, so are you ready for today's episode? Well, what I'd like to consider today is the subject of burnout. Now, if we consider what burnout is, it's that deep exhaustion where your body feels heavy, your mind feels really foggy, and it doesn't matter how much rest you have, you still don't feel rested. You're just absolutely wiped out. And what if I shared with you that burnout is not just about doing too much, but it's more about we've lost connection with our body. There's a huge disconnect going on between our mind and body. We're ignoring signals and feedback. Because let us consider total somatic awareness, mindset, and mindfulness strategies. You see, what we want to be doing is moving from burnout to balance, and that's what we can do with the total somatic approach. Because burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's those subtle accumulations of micro stresses, the physical stuff, the emotional, the mental anguish, all of that builds up. And what it starts to do is just deplete our reserves. As a result of that, we might just start feeling like we are carrying way too many responsibilities. Maybe we're feeling it physiologically. We can feel that tension in our shoulders. We're clenching our jaw. And the behavioral patterns are also, we are pushing through the pain just to meet deadlines. And over time, these patterns become automatic, and your brain starts to change your behavior, your breathing, your posture, your focus, your mindset, and it all becomes your new normal. But I want to share some really positive news with you, and that is that your brain is plastic, which means it can change. So that expression plastic comes from the expression neuroplasticity. So our brain is plastic. It's able to mold, adapt, and change all the time. And through total somatic education, we can teach our brain to sense, we can teach it to release and also reprogram these learned stress patterns and habits. So it's not about us pushing and powering through, because to this point, that hasn't worked. Instead, we're going to be working intelligently with our beautiful mind and body by listening in, checking in, and noticing. And that's because in Total Somatics, we're looking at how we can take care of our energy. And so looking at energy isn't about something that we can find. It's about freeing up our energy. And I want to share this concept with you, the importance of freeing up our energy. Because if your muscles are constantly contracted and tight, and this is subconsciously contracted and tight because we're in this stress state, it means that we use a lot of metabolic energy. A lot of our body's energy is holding us in this braced, tight position. And so this gets really exhausting. Even if you're sitting still, you're still braced and holding a lot of tension. So when we start releasing these subconscious habitual muscular patterns of tension and tightness, you'll actually find you have more energy, you feel refreshed, you feel calmer, you feel lighter in yourself, and you feel more alert because you haven't got this constant exhaustion, because the metabolic activity is having to, we've got a lot of metabolic energy being used to hold us in braced, tense positions. And so this calmness, but this alertness that we have is not coming from artificial things such as caffeine. It's not coming from an adrenaline surge. It's coming from efficiency, energy efficiency within our own body. And when we have this efficiency, our body will move with ease. It will move effortlessly, if I can get my teeth in, because we are using our time wisely, and we're using our beautiful resources in our body wisely too. But I'd like to share with you a mindset approach or a reframing that can come from this, because we can have this behavioral pattern for decades. We could have seen it from influential people when we were growing up. So it has become quite normal for us to behave this way. So let's look at a couple of reframes for our mindset here. I've put a couple of little common expressions down that I've seen over the years, and I'm sure you've heard many more too. But I've heard things such as, I'll rest when I've done it all, or I just need to push through. Another expression is, everyone else is coping better than I am. So you can see this is really starting to create exhaustion, a lot of pressure on ourselves too. But your body, basically, your body has limits. It's not actually weak. You know, we can sometimes use negative expressions like, I'm weak, I'm a failure, all these sorts of things. No, it's not. Literally, your body has limitations, and your limits are trying to tell you and give you messages. It's asking you for recalibration rather than punishment and pushing through things. Do you remember at the beginning I said to you that there's more of a lack of we've lost connection between your mind and body? This is what I'm referring to. We want to come back to allowing us to listen to the messages that are saying, hang on, we need to recalibrate here. We don't need to keep pushing and working harder. And so that's why with Total Somatics, I invite you to create more compassion and more nurturing when we're looking at your focus in this way. I want us to consider that fatigue is not failure. Instead, I want us to consider this question, which is, what is your body trying to tell you right now in this moment? Again, it's another message that's coming through. And so that question alone is going to shift the state of your nervous system from survival to energy and energy preservation, basically. Because we can be so busy just trying to create this perfect mindfulness practice, and at the same time not actually becoming embodied and listening to what's happening within our body. So life is very busy, and we can all testify to that. So what we want to look is ways that we can create some little techniques to check in with ourselves, to create those boundaries, and also to create more compassion throughout our day. So I've got 3 examples that I've written down here, and I'm going to say they are simple, but they're things that actually we don't bring into our life. But if we did, they would just start to create a little bit more regulation within our nervous system and stop us getting to that state of burnout. So the first example could be that before we open emails, could we pause, close our eyes, or if it's not comfortable or we can't close our eyes in that moment, just keep your eyes a soft gaze and take 3 big deep breaths, lovely deep breaths before you deal with your emails. It could be in between tasks that you're doing. If you have the opportunity to get up and move your body, I always say to people, imagine that you're in an opera. So what you could do is you could reach your arms out and extend and open your chest, look up towards the ceiling, do a really deep breath. Again, imagine you're in an opera, just open out your chest and then give yourself a little shake and discharge all that tension that you've created here. Another really important aspect to consider, a third daily tip we can take, is when you've finished your work, could you place your hand on your belly or on your chest? Take a few deep breaths and just say quietly to yourself or silently, this part of my day is complete. And that's really important, because what we're saying in that statement is we're creating a boundary. This part of my day is complete. There's that boundary, which means we can leave that work and we can go and have time for connection with people. We can have time with connection with nature. We can start to rest and recuperate rather than pushing through all of those barriers and those boundaries, ignoring our boundaries and getting to the point of burnout. So again, that's a really important thing to acknowledge at the end of each task or each day that we have. And you see, these small little rituals, what they're doing is cueing your body to actually have time to rest and to be in the moment rather than just doing all the time. And when we practice this consistently, it's going to help to improve our energy efficiency. Remember, when we're releasing and discharging that tension, when we're creating boundaries, when we're checking in and listening to the messages that are coming in and telling us where our limitations are, instead of thinking it's a failure, it's actually feedback that we want to be taking on from this. And when that happens and we really are embodied and we have that total somatic mindset approach, that's when we feel ease and things feel effortless when we're working and enjoying our life. And so that's why I just want to share with you that with Total Somatics, it's not just about relaxing muscles, but we're actually retraining your brain to recognize safety, presence, and calm. When we have that, that's when we reduce our risks of developing burnout. And if we have already got to that point, it is never too late to regulate your nervous system and come back into that state of balance. And that's where I'd like to share with you, wherever you are on your journey of health and well-being, wherever you are with your emotional, mental, physical, and energetic health, I'd like to invite you to join me within the Total Somatics online membership. Within the membership, we will look at all of these areas of how we can create greater capacity, resilience, bandwidth, and flexibility, not just in your muscles, but in your nervous system. And whatever we are doing on a consistent, regular practice, and I teach you all that within Total Somatics, we can go out to the world and we can meet those challenges, but have a greater bandwidth to deal with the stresses that come our way. So if that's something that interests you, please go to totalsomatics.com, click on the Join Now page. And then when you go to the Join Now page, if the membership doors are open, come on in and join me and all the wonderful friends around the world. But if it's closed at that point, please leave your details on the wait list there. And whenever we open the membership doors, you will be the very first to find out. So until next time, I'm sending you all my love, all my very best wishes. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.